very first scene in Dad's Army begins with a look into the future. The Second World War is a thing of the past. Our characters are older now, aged and hard of hearing, but they are still together and still comrades. It is a meeting of the I'm Backing Britain campaign. This was a short-lived patriotic campaign which found real traction in early 1968 and was aimed at boosting the British economy. The campaign erupted when 5 London secretaries volunteered to work an extra half hour each day without pay to boost productivity and urged others to do the same. The invitation received a huge amount of support and a campaign took off spectacularly. It became a nationwide movement within a week. Trade unions, however, were suspicious of, or even opposed to the campaign, considering it an attempt to extend working hours by the back door and to hide inefficiency by management. No matter what its history, this little scene may seem a strange way to begin a situational comedy on the home guard of the Second World War, but the writers and BBC management deemed it necessary to show right from the start that the show was not going to be taking the mickey out of the home guard, and in fact showing them even now, well after the war, to be staunch men and still patriotic. But without further ado, I will now hand you over to the meeting's Master of Ceremonies, one Arthur Wilson.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest of honour, one of Walmington-on-Sea's most distinguished citizens, a man of many parts, banker, soldier, magistrate, alderman, and secretary of the Rotary Club. A good fellow all round. Ladies and gentlemen, Alderman George Mainwaring.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Town Clerk, ladies and gentlemen. When I was first invited to be a guest of honor tonight at the launching of Walmington-on-Sea's I'm Backing Britain campaign, I accepted without hesitation. After all, I have always backed Britain. I got into the habit of it in 1940. But then we all backed Britain. It was the darkest hour in our history. The odds were absurdly against us, but young and old we stood there, defiant, determined to survive, to recover, and finally to win. The news was desperate, but our spirits were always high.
There was one sad fact that the cast and crew would not have been able to know at this early stage. With this look into the future of the Dad's Army cast, Joe Walker would not have been at the table, for Jimmy Beck, who played him, sadly passed away well before the programme eventually finished. But let us not dwell on that sad day that lies well into the future. Let us continue our story. We now have our opening credits, and we come to our second opening of this episode, with the now famous advancing and retreating flags across Europe. In this very first episode, we hear audience laughter at the movement of the flags. This will be the only episode where audience laughter can be heard during the opening credits. And of course, when Dad's Army moved into the colour age, these animations would follow suit. Also, we should mention the theme tune, which today is so famous and known and loved by millions. The theme song is so authentic that it has often been mistaken for a genuine World War II ditty, although it was actually co-written by Jimmy Perry and Derek Taverner. Perry not only wrote the song, but recruited World War II comic Bud Flanagan to sing the song. Bud Flanagan, born Chaim Reuben Weintraub in 1896, was a British music hall entertainer and comedian, and later a television and film actor. He was best known as being one half of the comedy and music act Flanagan and Allen, with his partner Chesney Allen. Flanagan was famous as a wartime entertainer, and his achievements were recognised when he was appointed an Officer of the Order of the British Empire in 1959. His fee for singing the immortal theme tune to Dad's Army was 100 guineas, or £105, which is roughly £1,600 in today's money. The recording of this iconic and memorable theme tune had its problems and took longer than expected, as David Croft remembered. He said, We were very lucky to get him, as he was reaching the end of his career. It turned out he'd never recorded a song that he hadn't actually sung before. We sent him the song and he turned up as planned for the recording, with the band of the Coldstream Guards. Suddenly he realised he didn't know the song at all. He was terribly apologetic about the whole thing, but in the end, it was done. The final signature tune was an accumulation of about 8 takes pieced together. It is always missed when discussing Bud Flanagan and the Dad's Army theme tune, but it is worth mentioning how cool it is having the band of the Coldstream Guards providing the music. Bud Flanagan was not to live long enough to see how popular his song became, as he sadly passed away soon after the recording. The work of Bud Flanagan is not known by many now, nor information about what kind of person he was. But his fellow comedian, Charlie Chester, offered a most touching tribute to Flanagan, which perhaps gives us a small insight into his character. Chester wrote, "No artist born was more loved by his brothers. No man gave more in human happiness." We now come to our newsreel. We're nearly there, but we have one more opening to get through before we get to the actual programme. These 3 openings will make this first episode a bit clunky. In this newsreel, we see original Second World War footage of tanks, assault guns, heavy artillery. There's Stukas, German soldiers, explosions, and the sinister grinding of metal on metal from seemingly indestructible German armour. On top of this footage, we have sinister music, along with the newsreel narration by Edward Victor Henry Emmett, known as EVH Emmett. Born in 1902, Emmett was a British newsreader, though his main job was as a commentator for Gaumont British News. He was frequently used as a narrator for films from the 1930s to the 1950s. In the first series of Dad's Army, broadcast in 1968, he was the narrator over the humorous, short public information films of the platoon seen at the beginning of each episode. By the time of the colour episodes in 1969, the films had been discontinued. The music now changes to a more upbeat tempo, now as the footage is of British troops on motorbikes, bicycles, and their return from Dunkirk. We then move on to footage of Churchill inspecting troops, and then the perils of a German airborne invasion. We see Lance Corporal Jones changing a road sign to confuse a motorcyclist who then drives into the sea, and finally the platoon sharpening wooden stakes to give a Jerry parachutist an unpleasant landing. These newsreel scenes are unique to the black and white episodes, for as the series grew in popularity and confidence, it was felt there was no need for these extra introductions to each episode. After all, the war was often discussed in episodes, and madcap activities were always on display. So now, finally, nearly 4 minutes into the first episode, we are introduced to our first characters: George Mainwaring, bank manager; Arthur Wilson, his senior clerk; Frank Pike, office boy; and Miss King, all at Swallow's Bank. The place, Walmington-on-Sea.
Going home, are they?
Sir?
Ah, well done, Pike. Oh, by Jove, these things are heavy.
Oh, that's the sand being wet, sir. If you waited for the tide to go out, it'd have been twice as easy.
Well, never mind, Pike. They'll keep out the German bullets, that's the point. Don't take so long over the next one.
Well, that's not my fault, sir. I spent 10 minutes picking the shrimps out of that lot.
Ah, thank you, Mr. Wilson. On there, please.
Well, that's a reasonable field of fire, I suppose. It covers most of the high street.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think we can quite happily say that Jerry's parachutist will be as dead as mutton from Steddon Simpson's to Timothy White's. We'll get a clear run down to the Pier Pavilion if that blasted woman to get out of the telephone box.
That'll be Mrs. Hoskins calling her sister in Petford. She'll only be 3 minutes, sir.
Well, let's hope that Hitler stays his hand till Mrs. Hoskins gets the pips.
Let's hope he waits until we get a machine gun.
It's the last one, sir.
What do you mean, the last one? They're nowhere near high enough.
Oh, well, there's no more sand, sir.
No more sand? Nonsense, there's a beach full of it down there.
Oh, well, the tide's in. The war's up to here. But right over my mum's Wellington's getting that last one. She's not going about it.
Pike, the dampness of your mum's Wellingtons is of very little consequence. when the whole of Europe is writhing under the Nazi heel.
No, my mum won't see it like that, will she?
Well, sir, I suppose we could get some more sand at low tide.
Time is not on our side, Wilson. We must improvise. Tell me, how much copper have we got?
Copper?
Yes, copper, pennies.
Well, I suppose about 10 5-pound bags.
Don't get 'em, Pike. Lay 'em out along here.
Yes, sir. I don't think we ought to do that, you know, sir.
Why not?
Well, it'll cause a penny shortage in the town.
Well?
Well, it'll be very inconvenient, sir.
Very, won't they? Don't they know there's a war on?
I don't think head office is going to like this at all,
Oh,
sir.
Wilson, this is no time for red tape. At any moment, hordes of German parachutists may drop on us from the skies. Well, they'll be using all sorts of disguises, you know.
Hmm?
A whole platoon of them could come dressed as nuns, set up their headquarters in that church across the road, and you'd never notice.
Well, I think I would, sir. You see, that happens to be the Methodist chapel.
2 bags, sir.
Ah, well done, Pike. Well done.
The cashier says, will you sign for him as though you're putting him in the vault, or shall we open an account in your name and give you an overdraft?
I'll talk to him later. See you, that is, Wilson.
Yes, of course.
Sad not to be disturbed.
Yes.
Now, here, Pike. Take this paper, lick it, and stick it in crosses on the windows.
It's an Army dispatch rider from GHQ Eastern Command, sir, and he's got a packet.
Oh, poor devil. What was it, a sniper?
For you, sir.
Oh, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Whipped them to the post, did I? A few weeks ago, I sent a letter to GHQ asking for instructions in case of an invasion. I told them that I held a commission and that I'd served in the last conflict.
Somewhere in the Orkneys, wasn't it, sir?
I was a commissioned officer, Wilson, and I served in France during the whole of 1919.
Yes, but war ended in 1918, I thought, sir.
Well, somebody had to clear up the mess.
Oh, yes, of course.
Where were you during the war?
Mons, Gallipoli, Passchendaele. I was a sergeant in the RS.
Yeah, never mind that now. Yes, sir. In view of the grave danger of enemy parachutists landing in the home counties, it has been decided to form a force of local volunteers to guard certain strategic points. This force will be known as the Local Defence Volunteers. Yes, Miss King?
It's Anthony Eden, sir.
In person?
On the wireless. They say it's very important.
We want large numbers of such men in Great Britain who are British subjects between the ages of 17 and 65. 17 and 65. The name of the new force will be the Local Defence Volunteer. This name describes its duties in 3 words. Here then is the opportunity for which so many of you have been waiting. Your loyal help will make and keep our country safe.
Right. Let's go to it. Right, back to work, Miss King. Now, the first thing we've got to do is set up an invasion committee.
Yes.
Pike,
Yes, sir?
whatever's the matter, boy?
I feel sick, sir, slicking all this paper.
Now listen to me. We 3 are the invasion committee. Now, the first thing to do is to appoint a properly appointed commander.
A what, sir?
Appoint a properly appointed commander. That's me. All right?
All right.
You will be my second in command.
Oh, thank you very much indeed, sir. Thank you.
What next? Yes. Means of conveying instructions and information to the public. An information officer will be appointed. Pike, that'll be you. The information officer will be supplied with a megaphone.
Oh.
Hold that, Wilson.
Yes, of course. All right, like that.
Yeah. You'll find that in times like these, improvisation is the keynote to success.
Well done, sir.
There's your megaphone, lad. Now, your first job is to jump on your bicycle and go round the town delivering this message. All local defence volunteers to report to the church hall at 6 o'clock tonight. Try that. Oh, come here, let me show you. All local defence volunteers to report to the church hall at 6 o'clock tonight.
I don't know how you do it.
Well, history repeats itself, Wilson. Times of peril always bring great men to the fore. Wellington, Churchill,
Al Jolson.
There are a few historical points of interest about this scene. First, about 10 days after Anthony Eden's broadcast, Operation Dynamo was beginning across the Channel. An evacuation of around 330,000 British and French soldiers. Very soon after this, British beaches would have been cordoned off with barbed wire and mined, a problem which the platoon nearly came unstuck with in a later episode called Sergeant Save My Boy. So if the broadcast had happened just slightly later, Pike may not have been able to get onto the beach to fill his sandbags. More coppers from the vaults, Mr. Mainwaring. So let's take a look at how the local defence volunteers really came about in 1940. In May 1940, Secretary of State for War Anthony Eden made a broadcast calling for men between the ages of 17 and 65 to enrol in a new force, the Local Defence Volunteers. By July, nearly 1.5 million men had enrolled, and the name of this People's Army was changed to the more inspiring Home Guard. Membership of the Home Guard was open to men who were not already serving in the armed forces. In the beginning, volunteers often had to bring their own weapons, such as shotguns, rifles, or whatever firearms they had. Initially, training was minimal due to the urgent need for manpower, but it became more structured as time went on. Many Home Guard units were led by retired officers or veterans from the First World War. The primary role of the Home Guard was to defend against invasion by German forces. They were tasked with protecting key locations like bridges, road junctions, and other strategic points. The Home Guard units conducted regular patrols in their local areas, keeping an eye out for suspicious activity. As the war progressed, training exercises became more sophisticated, including mock battles and live firing drills. In addition to their defensive duties, Home Guard units also provided support for civil defence activities, such as firefighting and bomb disposal. By the end of July 1940, the Home Guard had over 1.5 million volunteers. In 1943, the Home Guard formed the Women's Home Defence, allowing women to take on support roles such as communications, administration, and medical assistance. Over time, the Home Guard was better equipped, receiving surplus weapons from other military units, and even developing specialised equipment for tackling tanks and aircraft. So this opening scene of the series really does a lot of heavy lifting. It sets up 3 of the main characters of the programme: Mainwaring, Wilson and Pike. It has some slapstick with a cold blackened face. Perhaps Al Jolson material was not acceptable today, but then it would appear harmless. The scene shows Pike as a soppy boy, feeling sick licking the tape, and perhaps just as important, we hear sayings we will hear time and time again as the series and years go on. Sayings that give a programme a consistency, a permanency. Sayings such as, "Don't they know there's a war on?" "All this red tape," as well as the fear that Germans were dressed as nuns. So with George Mainwaring, bank manager of Swallow Bank, taking the responsibility onto himself to form and lead a new platoon, let's now meet his new recruits and what will be their second home for a total of 80 episodes. So in our next scene, we see civilian men milling around in St Aldham's Church Hall. They are clearly waiting for their appointed commander. The hall is barely furnished. A stage is just off camera, and a portrait of King George V hangs on the wall near to the vicar's office.
There's a boy coming home on leave. There's a girl wants him home on leave.
The meeting was called for 6 o'clock. It's 20 past. Where is he?
I could have had time for a round of golf. Do you know that? I've just bought a new...
Excuse me.
One moment. Do you mind getting back? We're waiting for the appointed commander.
I am the appointed commander.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Now even in this tiny scene, there is a big difference between this and the radio version. In the radio version, Walker attempts to do some black market trading, and Frazer tries to put the new appointed commander in his place.
Meeting was called for 6 o'clock. It's now 20 past. Where is he?
Well, he's gone to the police station to get the enrolment forms. He shouldn't be long.
Well...
Right. Now look, gents, while we're waiting, can I interest you in one of these watches? Now here's a nice little number, 15 jewel, solid 18 carat, Swiss-made, waterproof, shockproof, and you can't get them anywhere these days. Mind you, I usually charge 10 quid, but I'm going to rob myself. 9 quid, and it's yours.
They have got exactly the same watch in Cunningham's window, £7.10.
Have they? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at it upside down. It's only £6. Now, come on, gents. Any takers?
Clear the way, please.
No? Oh, well, please yourself. Hang on, do you mind? There's a queue here. What's your game?
Get out of here.
Hey, wait a minute. Who do you think you're shoving? Go back to the back of the queue. We're waiting for the appointed commander.
I am the appointed commander.
God help us.
So, back to the television version. We move straight into the vicar's office, where Arthur Wilson, soon to be Sergeant Wilson, is keeping an eye out for Mr. Mainwaring.
Oh, there you are, sir. Tell me, did you get the enrollment forms?
No.
Well, hadn't they got any at the police station?
They wouldn't let me have them without putting in an application form.
Well, then why didn't you, sir?
They hadn't got any.
Oh, I see.
I got those, however.
But look here, these are paying in forms.
Oh,
sir.
don't keep putting obstacles in the way, Wilson. Get the first man.
All right, very well, sir.
It is there we are introduced to the other main characters of the programme. Again, there is a slight difference between the TV and radio episodes, and in this instance, it is about what they should use to take down the men's details. In the radio version, Mainwaring tells Wilson to use church forms instead. When Mainwaring actually asks what they are for, John Le Mesurier's phrase, "Enrolment in the choir, sir," is delightful. So now, in comes the cast of characters.
All right, quick, march!
Not much point, I'm here already.
Name?
James Frazer.
Occupation?
I keep a philatelist shop.
How do you spell that?
S-H-O-P.
Thank you very much. I imagine you've not had any previous army experience?
No, none at all.
No, we can usually tell, can't we, Sergeant?
Yes, we can, sir.
Once a soldier, always a soldier.
Yes, of course.
I'm a sailor. Chief Petty Officer, Royal Navy. Retired.
Sign there.
Are you swearing?
I never said a word.
You army type. Aren't you swearing an oath of allegiance?
Oh, yes, of course we are. We're going to do that later. Wait outside.
Come, boys brigade, men.
Another small change is, in the TV episode, when asked his occupation, Frazer replies, "I keep a philatelist shop." Later in the series, this is dropped, and Frazer is suddenly the local undertaker instead. In order to explain this change of occupation, as well as retain the "how do you spell that" joke, the radio episode changes this to Frazer having two occupations. He is the undertaker and also keeps a philatelist shop. For anyone wondering what a philatelist is, it is someone who studies and collects postage stamps and other philatelic products. The hobby and field of study are called philately. Philatelists research the design, production and use of stamps, including aspects like paper type, printing processes and historical context. Why there would need to be a shop for this? No idea. If you know, please let us know in the comments below.
Have to watch that man, Wilson.
Yes, sir, yes.
Bolts you lot, these jackals.
Yes, I quite agree with you, sir.
Next man.
Right. All right, next man, please. All right, quick, march. Yeah. All right.
Halt. How do you do? Howdy. Name?
Godfrey. Charles Godfrey.
Occupation?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm retired, but I was 25 years in the civil service.
Oh, really? Indian or British?
Civil service stores.
Any previous military experience?
Well, I was several years in the sports department, of course. That meant archery and air guns.
Yeah. Well, no doubt your knowledge in specialist fields will be of great use to us. Would you just sign that, would you?
Oh, I'd love to. Is that all?
For the moment.
Don't I get a receipt or something?
This is a fighting unit, not a dry cleaner's.
Do that, would you, please? I'm sorry. Right turn, quick march, and just veer round to the right.
Evening, gents.
Name?
My card.
Joe Walker, wholesale supplier. I suppose you won't be with us very long. You'll be called up any day, I should think.
Oh, no, Gov, no. I'm, what's his name? Reserved occupation.
How do you make that out?
Well, I'm an wholesale supplier, aren't I? I mean, I supply essential supplies.
Any previous military experience?
I've got a girlfriend in the ATS. Yeah, all right. Oh, by the way, any time you gents require anything, you know what I mean, just give us a tip, you know what I mean.
Thank you very much, yes. We'll bear it in mind.
Right turn, quick march.
Pardon?
Right turn, quick march. Well, you might wait for the ink to dry.
Right. Oh, stand out. Ace. Evening, Mr. Mainwaring. Evening, Mr. Wilson. You know me, don't you, sir?
Right. It's Mr. Jones, the butcher, from the High Street, isn't it?
That's right, sir.
Don't you think Mr. Jones is perhaps a little bit too old, sir?
Old? Who are you calling old?
Oh, no.
You give me a chance to get to those Jerry parachutists, I'll soon sort them out.
You see, Wilson, it's keenness that counts,
Yes,
not
of
age.
course.
That's the ticket, sir. I'm as keen as mustard.
Have you any previous military experience?
Now you're talking. I signed on as a drummer boy in 1884. Later, I saw service in the Sudan. Fought the Fuzzy Wuzzies. Fuzzy Wuzzies, they were the boys. They come at you with a great long knife and zip you right open. They soon find out if you've got any guts or not. Them Fuzzy Wuzzies, they was the only one that could break the British square. Not like those Jerrys, they couldn't break the skin off a rice pudding. They don't like the cold steel, you see, sir. They don't like it up 'em, you see, sir. They don't like the...
Get him a chair, Wilson.
They don't like it, you see,
yourself.
sir.
No, that's right.
Thank you, sir.
That's all right.
I'm not as young as I was, sir. But that's not going to stop me being in there with the bayonets over the cold steel,
No,
sir.
quite
Not
so.
going to stop
Quite
me,
so,
sir.
Mr. Jones. I think you've made your point.
Yes, sir.
Just sign that, would you, please?
Certainly, sir. Thank you, sir.
When did you leave the army?
1915, sir. I was invalided out, sir. The old minces, I couldn't quite make the focus, you see, sir.
Presumably that's why you've signed the table.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Oh, sir.
Yes?
There's a couple of pounds of steak there, sir. Compliments of the house.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Oh, by the way, sir, what about my stripe?
Your stripe?
I was in Lance Corporal for 14 years. Can I keep it?
No, Jones, I'm afraid you can't.
Well, in that case, I'll keep the steak, I think.
Let's not be too hasty about this. We shall be needing NCOs, you know, Wilson.
Yes, of course we will, sir, yes.
Yes, and I've no doubt that Mr. Jones's previous military experience could stand us in very good stead.
Yes.
Right, that's all. Lance Corporal Jones.
Thank you, sir. You're a gentleman. Well, TTFN, about that. Leg, right, leg, right, leg, right, leg. Can I do you now, sir?
Yes, very good. Very funny, sir. Awfully good.
Oh, we'll share this later, shall we?
Sort it out very quick. Right, who's in charge here?
I am. Why?
Right, we'll get this all cleared out at once.
What?
Come on, get these blokes out of here.
Are you out of your mind? You realise that history's taking place in there?
In 5 minutes' time, an ARP lecture is taking place in this hall.
I am trying to enrol men for the LDV, and if you're not very careful, I shall requisition this hall for military purposes.
You're too late, mate. It's already been requisitioned for the civil defence for my purposes. So get this lot out so I can carry on with my lecture.
Are you asking the army to retreat?
Why not? You've had plenty of practice lately. That's right. Look, gents, we don't want to get excited, do we? I mean, I've got my job to do and you've got yours. If you want to carry on here in this office, well, it won't bother me. But get this other lot out, quick, sharp. Go. Blimey, pulled it in, old but come on.
Now, one thing I really enjoy about the first few series of Dad's Army is how everyone grows organically, just as they would have during the war. The platoon began as the local defence volunteers, with neither uniforms or weapons. Slowly, they would be issued with some weapons and uniform, then they were renamed the Home Guard and properly equipped. Just like the Home Guard, Hodges begins his role as an ARP warden, in civilian clothes and with a dark helmet. As the show progresses and the war continues, he is issued with a proper uniform and is promoted to Chief Warden. It is a natural and lovely thing to watch happen. Now, when we get further into our series, we will delve deep into the real ARP. But for now, their creation mirrored that of the local defence volunteers. Volunteers for the ARP who completed their training received a silver ARP lapel badge and warrant card. Some authorities issued volunteers a helmet, khaki colour, that were later painted black closer to the outbreak of war, and an armband. The design of armbands or armlets was unregulated at this time, and local authorities created whatever designs they wanted, often with the local authority name and role printed on them. Blue civil defence armbands featuring a crown and a rainbow device were introduced in July 1940. And as the threat of war developed, the ARP Warden's service was issued with a more robustly constructed gas mask. Markings on helmets began to appear following the outbreak of the war in September 1939. It wasn't until October of that year that uniforms for men slowly filtered through to wardens and associated services. The first being the all-in-one combination suit or overalls made of bluette. So with Mainwaring's first plans in disarray, he calls all the men into the office and charges them to prepare for an invasion.
Now men, you've answered your country's call today. We're all here to defend our homes and our loved ones. And I know that you will not shirk that duty. With no guns, we are naked. But we have one invaluable weapon in our army: ingenuity and improvisation.
That's two.
I want you all to go to your homes, gather what weapons you can, and come back here in an hour's time. From tonight, whatever the odds, we Englishmen, we British, we here are going to be able to say, "Come on, Jerry, we're waiting for you." Don't forget your gas mask. That's all. Dismissed.
Our next scene is the first of so many line-up scenes where Captain Mainwaring walks down the ranks, chatting to his men. This technique would serve Jimmy Perry and David Croft for many years, as well as in future sitcoms It Ain't Half Hot Mum and Are You Being Served? It shows the genius of these two writers, where they came up with a successful technique and then had the ability to repeat it so many times without it becoming samey and still producing hundreds of laughs.
Squad, attention! Try and get it right. Squad, stand at ease. Attention! All right, sir. The men are all ready for your inspection.
Very smart, Corporal. What's that supposed to be, boy?
Well, you said if you hadn't got anything else, we'd tie a carving knife to a broom handle.
I didn't say keep the brush on the end of it, you stupid boy.
Well, he should have said.
I don't want any insubordination. Take this man's name, Sergeant.
What's your name, lad?
Well, you should know by now. You've been a friend of my mum since before I was born.
Well, see, it doesn't happen again.
Where did you get that gun?
Eh?
The gun, where did you get it?
Well, it belongs to my friend, actually.
I see. He's got a friend. A gun.
Yes, I can see that, sir, yes.
Well?
Yes, well...
I'm the officer.
Yes, sir, quite.
You're the sergeant.
Quite, yes, sir.
We ought to have that.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you for it.
Well, don't you think it would have more authority coming from you, sir?
No.
Right. Excuse me. Mr. Mainwaring would rather like to have your rifle.
Who would like to have it?
Captain Mainwaring.
Well, he can't have it.
Now look here, Godfrey. Hand over that gun at once.
I don't see why I should.
Are you refusing to obey an order on active service? Realize we could have you shot for this.
That'll be a bit tricky since he's the only one with a gun.
Permission to speak, sir. Permission granted, Corporal. Why don't we take it in turns to have the gun, sir? What an excellent idea. Draw up a rota. Put my name at the top.
Oh, that's good.
That's a very formidable-looking weapon.
Aye, a poor man with that, and then give him that.
You needn't have bothered to dress.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's my wife's birthday. You see, we're going out for a little dinner celebration. Do you think you're going to be long?
Well, that rather depends on Jerry, doesn't it? Not that we want to interfere with your social arrangements.
Well, that's perfectly all right. I would have asked you too, and we haven't really been introduced, have we?
No, we haven't, have we?
Well, we can soon arrange that. May I introduce Captain Mainwaring? I'm afraid I didn't quite catch your name.
Wilson! What do you think you're doing?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought he might ask me, too.
Your wife's birthday today,
Yes.
is it? You got her a nice present, I suppose.
Well, in all this confusion, I just haven't had time.
Here, hang on a sec. Here, cop hold of that, will you, Taffy?
Taffy.
Anything there you fancy?
I say.
There you are. Look, there's a nice little thing. 15 jewels, solid 18 carats, Swiss made, waterproof, shockproof. Can't get them anywhere these days. I'll tell you what, 10 quid and it's yours.
I say, it's extraordinarily generous of you. Thank you very much indeed.
So,
Thank you.
don't suppose I could interest you in anything, could I? Yeah. Thought not.
It's also really nice to see Corporal Jones in his old contemptible uniform from the First World War. All his ribbons on his chest were well researched, and when we get to the Clive Dunn special episode, we will look at all those ribbons in real detail and what the campaigns were like. But there was one actor in this first lineup who would not remain a regular member for long. The actor who played the pleasant, posh chap was one John Ringham. He recalled how his supposedly regular part was cut short. He said, "My character was a smartly dressed city gent who was thick as 2 short planks. But on the first day of rehearsals, David Croft said, 'We've got too many regular characters and one has got to go.' And that was me. But David is a loyal man and brought me back 4 times as Captain Bailey." Ringham was also not keen on being tied to a single character and a single series, so this actually turned out very well for him. But after the lineup, we come to Mannering's lecture about the perils of enemy armour and how they, although poorly armed, could take out a German tank. Here Mannering describes what they are up against.
The enemy may strike tonight, so we must learn how to deal with it. Now squat down on the floor. At the double? How can they squat at the double?
Right, Dad. There you go, then. Right. Come on.
Now, Sergeant Wilson has very kindly drawn this representation of a German tank for us. And I want you to observe the following point. Heavy armour in the front here, usually 4-inch plating. 40, 50 or 60 millimetre repeating cannon here. Heavy machine guns here and here. Light machine guns here, here and here. High pressure flame thrower here in the front. And I'm told on very good authority, 2 hand grenade throwers.
Cool.
A very formidable opponent indeed. But we're going to tackle it. The question is, how? Now,
How about some sugar, sir?
Sugar?
Yes.
How would you use it?
Well, you stick it in the petrol tank and the engine fizzles out.
Yeah, that's right, sir. I read about that somewhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
That sounds a very good idea, doesn't it, you,
Very
Sergeant?
good indeed. Shall I put in an application for an extra sugar ration, sir?
Yes, we can try it once. If it doesn't work, we'll put the rest in our tea.
How about some spuds?
Spuds?
Yes. You stuff one up the exhaust pipe, and that fails the gases from coming out the engine, and the engine stops.
Yeah, that's right, and all, isn't
I
it?
see.
It is, yeah.
Unfortunately, Corporal, these Nazi tanks are equipped with very long, thin exhaust outlets.
Well, we could use long, thin spuds. Charlotte's Beauty, sir.
King
They're long
Edwards.
and thin.
King Edwards,
No, John.
What about a carrot? That's got thin end, isn't it?
Yes, yes, do that.
If that doesn't work, can we have some chips?
Well, now, your suggestions have stimulated a very lively discussion, but I think for today we'll concentrate on my methods. Now, here are the weapons. Blanket, tin of petrol, crowbar, petrol bombs, and a box of matches. Now, this is the procedure. First of all, we take cover, concealing ourselves from the tank.
Here, here.
You hear the tank coming, and as it draws level, the first man soaks the blanket in petrol, breaks cover, and rushes towards the tank. Now, we're going to need a tough commander-like boy for this. Pike, you. The second man will then light the matches, rush to the blanket, and set fire to it.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Can I volunteer for that, sir?
Oh, very well, Corporal.
Thank you, sir.
Do you think that's wise?
All clear so far?
Yeah.
Frazer, you will prise open the lid of the tank with the crowbar. Walker will have a bomb in each hand, which will be ignited by Corporal Jones, and they will be pushed into the aperture. Any questions?
Yes, sir. What are you going to be doing?
I shall be observing from behind cover and deciding whether or not to send in a second wave. Now, you must understand that the most important part of the whole operation is the decoy. It is essential that one man draws the attention and the fire of the tank gunners to him and away from us. You better be the decoy. Braceful, you. Right, let's try it by numbers. Come and get your weapons. Right, decoy, over here. You work over here in this corner. That's it. There we are. Godfrey? Godfrey, you're in charge of the tank, over at the other end of the room. There we are. Now, Sergeant Wilson will blow a whistle when we're ready to go.
Hey, Sarge, can I put the petrol on my blanket now?
Oh, of course not, Bob, of course not. This is a dummy run, for heaven's sake.
Right, stand by.
All right.
Start them off, Sergeant.
Now, I'm not sure what tank Mannering was referring to, but in 1940, the Germans didn't have tanks quite as terrifying as this. In fact, most of the Allied tanks were better armoured and armed than their German counterparts. What made the German tanks so scary was how they were used in parallel with the Luftwaffe, artillery and infantry. In other words, blitzkrieg. Compared to what Mainwaring was saying the German tanks were like, the main German battle tanks were like this. The Panzer I had two 7.92mm machine guns and up to 13mm of armour. The Panzer II had one 20mm gun with 20mm of armour. The Panzer III had one 37mm gun, one 7.92mm machine gun and 15mm of armour. And the Czech 35T and 38T both had a 37mm main gun, two 7.92mm machine guns, and armour between 25 and 50mm thick, so nowhere near as dangerous as the tank Mainwaring was talking about. Now the platoon do come up with some ideas about how to tackle these leviathans. One was to put sugar into the fuel tank, which Jones believes would make the engine fizzle out. Now first of all, sugar would have been very hard to get hold of and strictly rationed. And would it actually stop a combustion engine from working? Sugar will not actually dissolve in petrol or diesel. It would simply sink to the bottom of the tank. Now if enough was put in there, it would eventually clog the filters. But then so would sand or grit, a lot easier to get hold of. But even easier than this, it would be just to pour water into the fuel tank. The fuel would float on the water, and the water will get into the fuel pump and cause problems. A lot of water would be needed, however, to cause serious issues with a fuel tank the size which these beasts carried with them. Another solution put forward was potatoes. Stick a potato up a tank's exhaust and make the engine stop. Well, if the seal was very tight and the potato firmly wedged into the exhaust, the tank would eventually stall as the build-up of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide would stop fresh air getting into the combustion chambers. All these ideas could work and should work, but they would all require men getting very close to the tank, although Mainwaring's ideas were hardly any better. His main idea was to distract a tank from one direction, whilst another group in hiding commenced the following assault. First, a blanket is soaked in petrol. 2, the blanket is set on fire. 3rd, the blanket is thrown onto the tracks of the tanks. 4th, the tank has stopped or conked out by now. The crew clamber all over the tank, open the turret with a crowbar and drop Molotov cocktails and grenades into the hatch. Now this type of assault may sound suicidal, but there was precedence and could well have been mentioned in training manuals of the time. In 1936, General Franco ordered Spanish nationalist forces to use this type of weapon against Soviet T-26 tanks, supporting the Spanish Republicans. Both sides would use simple petrol bombs with some success. Tom Wittringham, a veteran of the International Brigade, later wrote of his experience. We made use of petrol bombs roughly as follows. Take a 2-pound glass jam jar, fill with petrol. Take a heavy curtain, half a blanket or some other heavy material. Wrap this over the mouth of the jar. Tie it around the neck with string. Leave the ends of the material hanging free. When you want to use it, have somebody standing by with a light, i.e. a source of ignition. Put a corner of the material down in front of you. Turn the bottle over so that the petrol soaks out around the mouth of the bottle and drips onto this corner of the material. Turn the bottle right way up again. Hold it in your right hand. Most of the blanket bunched beneath the bottle. With your left hand, take the blanket near the corner that is wetted with petrol. Wait for your tank. When near enough, your pal lights the petrol-soaked corner of the blanket. Throw the bottle and blanket as soon as this corner is flaring. You cannot throw it far. See that it drops in front of the tank. The blanket should catch in the tracks or in a cogwheel or wind itself round an axle. The bottle will smash, but the petrol should soak the blanket well enough to make a real healthy fire, which will burn the rubber wheels on which the tank track runs. Set fire to the carburettor or frizzle the crew. Do not play with these things. They are highly dangerous. So now we are fully trained in how to take out a Soviet tank. Let's return to the church hall as pandemonium ensues.
Right, up you go.
I say, oh, that's no good. Look, you've got angry, draw that fire. Go on, do it again.
I say, you fascist beasts.
Where's the blanket? Pike.
Sorry, sir, I didn't hear him coming.
Come on in. Oh. Start again. Start again.
All right, back here. First position, come on.
And this time make a noise like a tank.
All right, stand by.
I say, you fascist beasts.
Hang it. Right, sit right in, Corporal. Come on.
I'll get the matches to light, sir. Wait a minute.
Start again.
Here we are, sir.
Pike, take charge of the matches this time.
All right, sir.
Well, I'll have the blanket, sir.
All right, Corporal.
All right, stand by. Right, off you go.
We are going to hang out washing on the sea line.
It's your bedtime.
I can't come now, Mum. I'm blowing up the tank.
Yes, dear, well, you'll just have to blow it up tomorrow. Oh, I'm surprised at you. After all, you know what time he goes to bed. Go along, Frank.
Yes, go along, Frank. Go along.
Will you be round later, Arthur, for your usual?
Maybe.
It's great to see Janet Davis, who plays Mrs. Pike in the very first episode. She, like so many others, would go the distance and still be in the show in the very last episode. Even at this early stage, Jimmy Perry and David Croft were writing a wonderful relationship between Mrs. Pike, Frank Pike and Arthur Wilson. This would be a cornerstone for so many laughs in the years to come. And after Mrs. Pike drags her unwilling son away, a courier from GHQ arrives with the news that the weapons and uniform have already arrived. Considering Mainwaring had only really told new recruits to meet at the church hall during the day, the fact GHQ knew where to go is a bit of a miracle. But the platoon are momentarily disappointed as the uniforms turn out to be armbands and the weapons, pepper, range, 5 feet. Yet the first episode will end on a cheering, patriotic note as the genius of Arthur Lowe rings forth.
I take it with you wherever you go, men. If you see any parachutists, let them have it.
Back in the cold steel, sir.
That's the spirit, Corporal. Well, we're making progress. A short time ago, we were just an undisciplined mob. Now we can deal with tanks. We can kill with our pikes. We can make them all sneeze with our pepper. And after all, even the Hun is a very poor fighter with his head buried in a handkerchief. But remember, men, we have one invaluable weapon on our side. We have an unbreakable spirit to win. A bulldog tenacity that will help us to hang on while there's breath left in our bodies. You don't get that with Gestapos and jackboots. You get that by being British. So come on, Adolf. We're ready for you.
Original transmission date, Wednesday, 31st of July, 1968. Viewing figures, 7.2 million. Now for the first episode of a brand new series, and one which was dabbling in unknown comedy waters, this number seems pretty healthy. The population of Britain in 1968 was around 55 million, so roughly 13% of the people of these isles watched the episode. Not too shabby, I reckon. So, with the first episode done, how does it fare against the radio version of the show? Well, every radio episode begins with the haunting voice of John Snagg, who sets the scene. So here he is, followed by a charming bit of interplay between Wilson and Pike.
Episode 1, The Man and the Hour, featuring John Laurie, James Beck, Arnold Ridley and Ian Lavender, with this week's guest, Timothy Bateson. Here is the latest news, and this is John Snagg reading it. Today is May the 14th, 1940, and the massive Nazi war machine continues to push its way relentlessly across Europe. Down on the south coast of England, in the little town of Walmington-on-Sea, the population are alert to the ever-growing threat of invasion. In the local branch of Swallows Bank, situated in the High Street, work is in progress to turn this respectable place of business into a defensive strongpoint. Pike, the office boy, is building a wall of sandbags around the window of the manager's office, and Mr. Wilson, the chief clerk, supervising the entire operation.
All right, now, put that one at this end, Frank.
Right,
How's that, Uncle Arthur? Well, I keep telling you, you mustn't call me Uncle Arthur when we're at the bank. You know Mr. Mainwaring doesn't like it.
I'm sorry, Uncle Arthur. I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, all right. That's better. Now, put that one over there.
Are the Germans very tall? I mean, they're not short like Japanese, are they?
I've really no idea. Why?
Well, Mr. Mainwaring said he wanted this up to eye level. But I don't really know what height a German's eye is.
Well, I think you'll find that Mr. Mainwaring meant our eye level.
Oh. Well, I think he might have said so. I'm not a mind reader.
Morning, Smithers.
Morning, sir.
Here's Mr. Mainwaring now.
Morning, Digby.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Wilson.
Oh, morning, sir.
I do enjoy that the radio show was very similar, but always slightly different to its TV cousin. Another adaptation, and probably because they didn't have the 3 clunky openings taking up valuable transmission time, was how the broadcast from Anthony Eden was heard. In the TV show, they listened to it in the manager's office, but here they go to the local radio shop.
Good morning, sir. Can I help you?
Yes, turn the wireless on at once.
Well, certainly, sir. Which one would you like to hear?
Oh, I don't care. Anyone will do.
Well, what about this model, sir? The dulcitone. £6.10, or if you like, 10 shillings down and half a crown a week for 52 weeks.
Well, that sounds awfully reasonable.
You'll be quiet. Just turn it on, will you?
Very well, sir.
What's the matter with it? It's not working. It's not working.
Really, sir, there's no need to knock it about. It has to warm up, you know.
Since the war began, the government have received countless inquiries from men of all ages.
This is it, Wilson.
Oh, yes,
It's a lovely tone, don't you think?
Oh, shut up.
Really?
And who wish to do something for the defense of their country. Well, now is your opportunity. We want large numbers of such men between the ages of 17 and 65. Come forward now.
Hardly worth your joining, is it, sir?
You be quiet.
Doubly sure. There will be no need for any volunteer to abandon his present occupation.
Well, that seems perfectly clear.
Oh, yes, sir. And it's even better for music, especially if you...
Not now.
But you will receive uniform and will be armed.
Well, perhaps you'd like to hear another station.
The name of the new
Will you
force,
leave it alone?
which is now to be raised, will be the Local Defense Volunteers. Local Defense Volunteers.
That's it, Wilson.
This name describes...
Come on, back to the bank.
That's it.
What about the wireless, sir? Don't you want to buy it?
Buy it? That'd be ridiculous.
With
Come
certain
on.
vital...
That's it.
This scene in the radio shop would be replicated a few years later when the cast of Dad's Army were on the big screen in the Columbia movie. The last few sentences in the shop always make me smile. What about the radio? Don't you want to buy it? Buy it? Don't be ridiculous. So there we go, the man and the hour on screen and on the airwaves. Now when each episode of the podcast comes to a close, I'd like to retire to the vicar's office, warm ourselves with a mug of cocoa and indulge in a helping of a toasted cheese supper before we go on Firewatch. Here we will discuss the good, the bad and the perfect moments of the episode. So, the man and the hour. This is the first episode, the very beginning of this fabulous series. It always holds a special place in my heart, along with all the other black and white episodes, mainly because they were deemed missing for so long. I can still remember the joy as a teenage boy when I was bought the VHS box of the first 3 episodes, looking strange but equally wonderful in grainy black and white. It is the first time we see the wonderfully pompous Arthur Lowe, the dreamy John Le Mesurier, the manic and excitable Clive Dunn, the moaning and gossiping Private Frazer, the black market rascal Joe Walker, the sleepy but ever loyal Godfrey, and the mummy's boy with croup, Private Pike. We are brought into the cosy world of wartime Walmington-on-Sea, and this episode heralds the beginning of many, many hours of blissful viewing. But there are some problems. As we said before, the beginning of the show was clunky and a bit of a mess, having 3 openings. Were they needed? Well, the newsreel was not absolutely necessary. In fact, the footage showing what the Home Guard was up against was a subject of some heated debate. And as to the I'm Backing Britain campaign scene, this was seen as necessary to show that the programme was not taking the mickey out of the Home Guard. Whatever the requirements at the time, the beginning is still not a smooth introduction. Well, the opening was such a mess that a scene had to be cut from the final draft, as the programme had overrun by several minutes. Unfortunately, a hilarious scene was cut where Gordon Peters, who had been cast as a fire officer, would have been seen entering the Church Hall office, and like Hodges, he would soon be arguing with Mainwaring over the use of the hall. Apparently, fire hoses would have been snaking in and out amongst the platoon, ARP wardens pushing and shoving, and Mainwaring losing his control. Gordon Peters would not stay away from Dad's army for long, as in the third episode, Command Decision, he was cast as a soldier, delivering the platoon their badly needed rifles. Much later on, he would return as the wheezy and coughing lighthouse keeper in one of my favourite episodes, Put That Light Out. And if that wasn't enough, he would deliver a rather rickety and fragile door to Mainwaring's office in the bank in the episode Is There Honey for Tea? And the TV version did have some more differences from the radio version. In the radio version, the characters of Warden Hodges and Mrs. Pike don't make an appearance. There also isn't a mock-up tank rehearsal in the radio version. That had been quite tricky to put together for radio. John Ringham's character of Bracewell doesn't appear in the radio version either. It is also an interesting point that James Beck plays Walker in the Dad's Army radio series for only a small number of episodes. This was before his death in 1973. I'm really pleased that James Beck did do a small number of episodes. Such a shame he didn't get to do more. One thing I will say about the first episode, and the first series in general, is when compared to the later series, the dialogue is very shouty. Whether this was because many of the actors were used in theatre work and having to project their voices, I'm not sure. But in many scenes, the dialogue does seem loud and a bit rushed. This could be down to nerves, the actors not being bedded in with each other, and not knowing how their reactions and responses were going to be to each other. If we look at, say, episode 6, Shooting Pains, if that was filmed after a few series were in the can, it would have been a lot smoother, a lot calmer, and less shouty. So I'm going to put it down to early nerves for the whole cast and the crew and the writers. But this episode really does do a lot of work in so small amount of time. It sets the scene very well. It outlines and introduces a lot of characters without a lot of dreary exposition. It introduces us to locations such as the church hall, the vicar's office and the bank, which will remain unchanged for 9 years and 80 episodes. But I think above all, even at this early stage, despite problems in rehearsals and learning lines, which we'll delve into later, Arthur Lowe absolutely shines. From scene 1, he is in charge, a man waiting for his moment, a man who has seen much disappointment and frustration in his private and personal life, a man of destiny. This is his moment, and he grabs it with both hands. Even when confronted with a rather elderly platoon with rather rickety weapons, he doesn't flinch. He exudes confidence and his willingness to lead, and only stumbles when confronted with Frazer's mad, terrifying stare in the office. Arthur Lowe will continue to grow into this role, and as the episodes progress, he will add catchphrases and mannerisms, and indulge in Churchillian oratory. In essence, he would go on to make the part his own. From his little slip-ups when he says, he's got a friend, a gun, to the little halt when he is introduced to Jones in the first lineup, they are all small and almost imperceptible gestures, but they all add up to a genius performance. Now I want to score every episode of Dad's Army at the end of each podcast, and it will be a score out of 10. This will be totally arbitrary, and I reserve the right to change my mind and score at any time. But as we are talking about Dad's Army, it will be a score out of 10 pigeons, provided by Private Walker of course, and of course, rather expensive. So despite it being the very first episode, my warm memory of watching it for the first time, after believing it lost forever, it is still a bit clunky and quite shouty. The episode does set the scene, and there is some wonderful interplay between Arthur Lowe and John Le Mesurier, but it's still not one of my favourites. I would have loved to have seen the scene with a fire officer, and also a televised version of Mainwaring, Wilson and Pike visiting the radio shop to listen to Anthony Eden's broadcast. But it was not to be, as the clunky beginning was needed. We lose Bracewell after this episode, and in general, the actual meat of the episode feels short as it had a reduced running time. So, for The Man and the Hour, I'm going to give it 6.5 pigeons. Now, this may seem ridiculously low, especially with hindsight, knowing just how popular the show was to become. But it seems my score is reflected by contemporary reviews of this first show. Here's what the papers at the time reported. The day after the episode aired, Ron Boyle from the Daily Express wrote that, while he did not raise a good hearty belly laugh, he believed that the BBC was about to come up with a classic comedy series. Boyle admired how the episode mercifully avoided all the tempting cliché traps, and believed that the series would be successful, stating that the possibilities for the series were tremendous. He wrote, "The more I think of it, I don't see how this series can fail." The Daily Mail wrote, "The trouble with this is that it isn't situation comedy or character comedy. It's only gag comedy, the easiest to write and the quickest wearing on the ear." The Daily Telegraph was slightly more receptive to the show. As the Walmington-on-Sea volunteers assembled, the paper wrote, Messrs. Perry and Croft showed a real gift for satire. Two things defeated them. One was the inexcusable use of a modern studio audience. Every time it reacted, 1940 was lost, and we were back to 1968. The other was a tendency to go for laughs at all costs, even if they punctured the atmosphere. The Daily Mirror was all praise, and particular for Dad's Army leading man. It wrote, "He is puffed up with importance, bloated with mission. The hour has come. He is the man of the hour. Arthur Lowe is its kingpin, and what holds it together?" The Times seemed to reflect the fears that were abound in creating a comedy about the Home Guard. Its leader ran, "It seemed to me to blend sentiment and humour rather uneasily, as if afraid of making too much fun of a hallowed wartime institution. Whether this rather equivocal attitude to the Home Guard will pay dividends remains to be seen." The Guardian was impressed in its article, which ran, "It is played in such an easygoing, natural fashion that one imagines even the most hard-bitten professional anti-patriots must find it amusing." The Sun was short and sharp. They wrote, "Dad's Army is a nice little thing." And finally, the Sunday Times and Sunday Telegraph were pretty damning and were not slow in picking up the clanking opening scenes. The Sunday Times wrote, "I'm fairly hopeful that this may prove to be an interesting series, though in the opening instalment, the balance between humour and nostalgia seemed to be held uneasily." The Sunday Telegraph scathed. Jimmy Perry and David Croft's inaugural script was pretty feeble, with an over-reliance on strained little jokes, but again, this may only be scene-setting problem. As you can see, the opening episode was not showered in accolades, but many papers did pick up on the nerves about creating a comedy about the Home Guard, a genuine worry of the BBC management in the early days. And what did the two men in charge think about their first outing with the Walmington-on-Sea Local Defence Volunteers? Jimmy Perry remembers, "As you can imagine, I was very nervous when it came to rehearsing and recording the opening episode. This was the first piece of work I'd written for television, so I was probably over-anxious about everything. It seemed to me at times as if no one was taking it seriously. They always wanted to finish early and go home. Arthur Lowe would often get stroppy, and others would mutter in corners." David Croft recalls, "The read-throughs during that first series, particularly for the opening episode, were tentative. I agree with Jimmy, the actors were inclined to do what we call underwater acting, where nobody puts much effort into it. Perhaps because it's not the real thing. It was particularly worrying in the case of Arthur Lowe, because he was mumbling a lot, not really playing the part at all. The cast made terrible mistakes during the first get-together, which was very concerning. But we needn't have worried, because everything turned out fine for the actual recording." Using Eden's memorable speech worked well. I remember hearing it live on the radio, so it was an interesting listen to it again. For many of us, rehearsing The Man and the Hour brought back lots of memories of the war years. When I heard the speech for real, I was living in a tiny cottage in Bournemouth, and it prompted me to try joining the local Home Guard. When they found out how hard it was, they decided not to accept me, believing I'd be called up to the regular army within 6 months, so I became a warden instead. So there we are. Do you agree with these newspaper reviews and my pigeon score? If you would give it a higher or even lower score, let me know in the comments below. Have I missed anything? Do you have any nuggets of information about this first episode? I would love to know. If you missed our last episode, which looked at how the whole idea of Dad's Army came about, please click here. Our next episode, Museum Piece, will be out soon. Thank you so much for listening, and of course, don't panic.